Akariss here, bringing you another Fire Emblem Heroes video. As always, on Twitch at the moment, recording and giving you guys some YouTube content. As with most of these videos, just trying to make efficient use of this time. I'm not going over the CYL Fed channel, because honestly, CYL Fed channel is just pretty much explaining the CYL units, so there's no point in me kind of going over that. Instead, we're just going to look at the trailer video like we do with every batch of new units and go over them there. So I'll go over my opinion on the CYL units as I do every single year. Whether I'm going to do an in-depth analysis here or not depends. I'd like to when it comes to CYL units because they are usually quite impactful, at least for most banners. One thing I'll preface this by saying is if you've saved a lot of orbs for CYL, you might want to consider waiting until next year. And it's either around the anniversary time or May with Golden Week, where we pretty much almost 100% sure, I'm pretty sure every single year we've had a Hero Fest with CYL units. And this is literally all of them from CYL 1 to CYL 5 every single year. So if you really, really want to get the best orb per unit and you really want to merge up these units and you've saved your orbs, you might want to consider waiting for that 5% rate. I want to preface it because I think a lot of people forget, or they're just so hyped up that they forget they can get way more copies per orb if they just wait pretty much half a year or so. But it is still worth it going for a spark, so you might want to consider at least a single spark here for the 40 summons, get a guaranteed copy, and of course the free copy involved with every single CYL unit. Those are not a bad thing to consider, but yeah, I want to just preface this video just by telling you that, you know, the should you pull, I'm sure a lot of people are excited. And I am interested in a couple of these characters as well, as you'll no doubt see as I go through this video. So first up is Byleth, who is wearing the Sothis regalia. Now, Sothis, especially with me, I love to make fun of Sothis. I think she's kind of bad as a unit, so this is kind of humorous to me. I do get a good laugh, good chuckle out of seeing this. Though I think the outfit is nice, and I think the art in general for all CYL units tends to be pretty good. So I like it. As we see here, it is a colorless tome flyer. Last year, I believe we had Marianne as a colorless tome infantry, and I really did like Marianne a lot. I still use Marianne whenever I get a chance to Gale Force. I think she's still pretty solid. Especially looking back at last year, I would say that I still stand by my opinion on Marianne being quite good, quite a unique unit, with Brave Erica still very strong, probably the strongest of last year's batch, at least from a general perspective. And unfortunately, Marth and Gatekeeper just never got their time to shine. Alright, so with Byleth, we have quite a few things to go over here. The first one being the brand new Vantage type skill called Speed Preempt. So this is a Vantage speed check. It lowers the enemy speed, but it only vantages bow, dagger, magic, or staff. That's quite important to realize because you can't just like throw a close counter here, use Speed Preempt, and then Vantage like everything. In some cases, Vantage just might just be better. So Speed Preempt is interesting. I don't know if it's straight up better than Vantage, especially if you're trying to use like a close counter and Vantage everything scenario. But by having the -4 speed on this Vantage, it does mean that there's scenarios where you're just going to outspeed and likely hit first, take a hit, and then kill again. This actually works pretty well on Byleth's base kit itself, as we'll see in a moment. Once we go through a couple of other skills. And the first thing that comes to mind, of course, is Divine Pulse here. So Divine Pulse is base 2 charge, but it goes down to 1, and I believe that Byleth on the weapon also has a times pulse type effect, where it's just going to make Divine Pulse pre-charged. So Speed Preempt plus the Divine Pulse is pretty good. One thing I didn't mention, of course, is that Speed Preempt doesn't have the HP condition, so if you don't have like something like Winter Bernadetta to set that up, then that's kind of nice because you don't have to worry about it too much. But what I do like is if you do outspeed, Speed Preempt, Divine Pulse. Divine Pulse has a sort of like E-Tree type effect, or I guess something like Ledger and Micaiah, where you're I guess it's closer to E-Tree maybe because it's absorbing damage, it's DR, and then you're using that hit to do more damage. So this is really good because if you do end up outspeeding and then using speed preempt, you're going to be able to, like, let's say double, you're going to use Divine Pulse before the enemy hits you, soak some damage, and then really hit back hard on that second hit if the unit even survives. So it's a very synergistic kit. I like it quite a bit. It does open up quite a few options for Byleth as a unit. As you can see, there's a lot of acceleration, a lot of pulse type effects, and yeah, the kit is fairly synergistic. Though I could see Byleth also being pretty solid as a sort of cleanup unit, something like PvE and AR offense, or AR defense, and just paste them on a Bridal Cat Trio Ball as always. You can't really go wrong with any type of nuker unit to be there, so it's pretty good. The weapon itself also has null follow-up built in, of course the pulse type effect, and a spiral pulse kind of post-combat type acceleration of Divine Pulse to pretty much guarantee that Divine Pulse is always going to be ready. Like, I guess the only counterplay there might be something like Pulse Smoke, or even yeah, it's mostly going to be something with like Pulse Smoke. So yeah, synergistic kit. She's gonna find some places to be used for sure. And if you're a fan of Byleth or these colorless tone nukers in general, you're gonna be pretty happy, I think. I wouldn't call Byleth game breaking, like broken or anything like that, but solid, strong unit. Next up is Sigurd. Wait, sorry, Seliph. Also a Red Sword Cav. Now there's going to be a lot of parallels here to his dad, Legendary Sigurd, and I'm going to probably be mentioning him quite a bit. Let's start off with the most obvious parallel, which is going to be Air to Light. Air to Light is going to give him null follow-up at the start of turn, going to give him attack speed 6, which is really good with a null follow-up effect, and then he's going to move an extra space. So yes, he's pretty much 4 movement cav, just like his dad. The biggest difference, though, is he doesn't have Holy Knight Aura, and he's not buffing his friends with that extra movement. And that's where I think he kind of falls off and couldn't have really reached the potential of his dad. So I'm, on first impression, not that impressed, but there's still a lot of good to come out of this. The mechanics found on his weapon and on the new A skill attack speed clash have a lot to do with how much movement either he does, like he moves like up to 3-4 spaces or whatever, or the enemy approaching him with tons of movement. And there's just various effects there. He's just going to get extra attack speed, or he's just going to do more damage based off of the enemy defense, it seems, off his weapon. He has built-in Canto 2 on his weapon, and preset Canto, in my opinion, is better than Rem Canto, so that's really good. It's a shame it's not like 3 Canto. It seems like Oder and Regan have like the monopoly on that, but generally speaking, having Canto at all is pretty solid. So having Canto, having this new mechanic, which is based on movement, is quite good. And the reason it is quite good is because I feel like his best place is probably AR defense on some sort of cav line. Now, combining him with like Pathfinders and Note and Dogger and whatnot, and just making use of his 4 movement means he has the exact same range as a 3 movement range cav. This is great because in something like, let's say, Chaos Season, where you have a range cav, let's say you have like a bunch of range calves, you have like a cav line on something like the Jotunheimer map or like Springwater or whatever, people can only use a single save. They either have to use near save or they have to use far save. Most people most likely are going to be picking far save because cav lines tend to have stuff like mostly range nukes. This makes him great on air defense because he'll be a melee threat just like his dad. So he'll be like a 4 movement melee threat. In some ways, I think he's better than Legendary Sigurd as an individual nuker, and that comes down to the fact that he has no follow-up, he's a speedy unit, and he's not like as... I think he's still quite a threat, even if he gets shut down by False Start or Elamine. So, in general, I think he's pretty good. I don't like Canto on defense, but in this case, it might be decent just because of the way his weapon and his clash works. So him actually creating distance between whatever he ends up nuking could potentially be advantageous. This is a character that I'm kind of on the fence about. I don't know how how strong he'll end up being, but generally speaking, I think on defense he's going to have to be respected just like his dad, and he's not seasonal locked like his dad, where his dad was in win season. So I'm excited to see how this pans out. And again, wouldn't call him nowhere near bad. I think on air defense, that'll be his best place. AR offense, though, he's not slacking either, as he has a built-in miracle effect. He's kind of hard to deal with. And again, another reason why he's so good on AR defense is, of course, because of that miracle effect. So he just has a lot of stuff going for him. Distance and movement, Kanto, just overall quite cool. But again, I could see him working really well in Summoner Duels and AR offense as well if you wanted to use him there. Okay, next up is Adult Tiki, or Young Tiki. Let me know how you feel about this in the comments below. If I make you upset, I'm sorry, but I like this outfit. I'm a fan of Adult Tiki and Young Tiki, so I'm perfectly happy with this outfit personally. But I understand why you might not be happy, considering Young Tiki has a million ults and Adult Tiki is like on her third. So I feel for you if you wanted something else, especially like a Naga outfit. I think I would have really liked a Naga outfit as well, but I'm a fan of this outfit. I think the art is done well, and Pennacore definitely reminds me of Summer Xander art, because Summer Xander is also drawn by Pennacore. So my opinion on that is I like it. I'm fine with it. I like all the art from this batch of CYLs, and in general, I like most art from all of the CYLs. I've not really been against any of them, so I know this one might be more controversial. Anyways, Tiki's a green dragon infantry. I'm kind of sad about that. I was hoping she'd be like an armor, and it feels like IS is allergic to armors lately, especially like brave ones. We haven't had a brave armor since Brave Edelgard, so feels like they're kind of allergic to them now, and I felt like Tiki could have been that, but unfortunately she's an infantry here, which to some people might be an advantage, but to me I was hoping she'd be armored. That would have been super interesting for me to see. Anyways, where do we start here? So first things first, she does come with like pretty much a full scoring kit. Attack res finish, defense res menace, and her preference B skill. Give her Distant Dragon seal, change her special to like Aether or Blue Flame, I guess. Give her some Rally Plus, and she's good to go for Arena. And that's probably where you'd want to use her anyways, because of her kit and Distant Counter Dragon Seal, and that she reaches 190 BST means that she scores as much as like NY Dogger or Ninja Korin if they're running their 300 SPB skills. Because of Distant Counter Dragon Seal, this means that Tiki scores exceptionally well. And if you wanted a unit for Arena, this is probably a good place to do it, because you will likely pick her up at a much less of an orb count than you would off of a duo unit. Namely because of the CYL Hero Fest, which happens later, and because there will just be many opportunities to spark this unit and all the other CYL through legendary banners, remix, Hero Fest, etc., etc. There's going to be a lot of chances just to spark Tiki and merge her, so again, if you don't rush for it, then you'll get that chance. Anyways, so let's start with the Preference B skill here. The Preference B skill is mostly doing just HP checks on Tiki, with 25% HP being the first one. Attack res -5 on foe, sure. And it has a DR effect, checking res, so pretty much Dragon Wall. It's like an enhanced Dragon Wall. And finally, to round out that whole Dragon Wall effect, we have denying follow-ups, denying doubles. That's really good. It means that no follow-up is going to be kind of needed to play into her, or you need your own auto-double and to outspeed her. Either way, DR, attack res minus, and denying doubles is pretty big. It's going to make her really tanky. Attack res finish is the new inheritable off the A, and that is a pretty easy condition. It's within 3 spaces. This is going to be one of the easier things to use, considering Unity is within 2 spaces. Ideals require buff or 100% HP, which is still pretty easy to use, but Finish's condition is fairly reasonable, especially for like an enemy phase unit like this, where you're probably just going to put it on them anyways. So the way Finish works is it's just going to give you extra damage off the specials, and as we'll see in a moment when we go through the breath, Tiki is based on her special. She really is going to be throwing out specials and denying specials. On top of that, she also has healing off of Finish. On A skill that provides healing is pretty good. I'd say a lot of tanks will appreciate this. I could already see someone like OG Fjorm, I guess, using attack res Finish 4, where she could be using a special either like Ice Mirror or something else like Moonbow, getting extra healing because she doesn't have healing in any other way. And of course, she appreciates the attack and res. So honestly, pretty good inheritable A skill. It might be locked to something like dragons, though I doubt it. We'll see how that ends up happening. Anyways, the meat of the unit, which is the preference weapon. So just like all the other Tikis, we have effective against dragons, and a slaying dragon weapon is already pretty good. Those are fairly rare. They're still not too common. Along with that, we have as usual 5 tall stats. It has an auto double in it. And finally, the most important part of the weapon, which is giving herself special acceleration if she can fire off her special, and denying enemy specials by literally giving special acceleration, like the opposite, denying specials by giving a +1 to that special. It's very interesting. So I imagine, of course, how this works is, let's say Duo Chrom wants to fire off a Deadeye. She just literally says nope, and he doesn't fire Deadeye, which is a big deal because Deadeye is supposed to should theoretically completely shut down and kill somebody like Tiki here as a green dragon with DR built in. But if you are able to just shut down that Deadeye, then all of a sudden Chrom is just not going to do a lot of damage. And if she's obviously running her own special, she'll, like Glimmer even here is fine, will just completely kill him. So a green unit like this that can beat something like Dual Chrom is already something like a feat to talk about. I think that's already very impressive. So I'd say as an enemy phase dragon, this is like our next line in very good enemy phase dragons. As I mentioned in the beginning, I wish he was like an armor. I feel like if this was on an armor, that would have been crazy strong, because this would have been a green dragon armor that shuts down Dual Chrom. So that would have been really good as a meta pick. But unfortunately, we have an infantry dragon, so I guess it is what it is. That dragon sprite is also very cool. The way that shines there, the pixel, reminds me of Naga. Maybe even the dragon itself is blue, so it kind of reminds me of Naga. So something like really off. Maybe they were. I don't know. This very that dragon really reminds me of Naga for some reason, not Tiki.
For the good of the people.
All right, and finally we have another blue lance cav. However, it's not just any blue lance cav. I'd say, yeah, probably most interested in Chrom here. Anyone who's been following me long enough knows I'm a fan of Chrom, and actually a fan of Adult Tiki as well from this batch of CYL. So, looking forward to using both in the future, but I think if I'm going to be picking or sparking something, personally, it will likely be Chrom. I have a lot of fun with Dual Chrom using Change Fate, and we have it again. Now, Fate changed. So, not the same, but still very important, as we'll discuss in a moment. So he comes with Third Sparrow. He has a slaying weapon, and he doesn't have a special. I don't know why they didn't just throw a Moonbow on him or something, but whatever. It's just funny that it's like that. But anyways, he has Trace as a B skill. That's okay, I guess. I guess if you're gonna use him in air offense, at least he comes with Trace. That's cool. That might not be his best B skill, as we'll discuss in a moment, but definitely Trace is fine. He comes with a new line of tactic skills. So that's called Infantry Speed Tactic, which gives, of course, 6 speed to allies as long as you're not over 2 movement types, or rather 2 of the same movement type on a team. And of course, here's what it's different. Because it's infantry speed tactic, I guess it gives no follow-up to your allies, or the infantry allies. So that's a good effect. But we'll see why that is a bit synergistic as we discuss his preference weapon and his preference assist, which is different. It's not the same as Change Fate, as we'll see. So to start this off, I think it's important to discuss the preference assist and how that's changed from to Change Fate. Instead of being that, it's a fate change. So it removes the attack 6 that to Change Fate had, and now takes all of the bonuses on whoever he's repositioning, because it's still repositioned, but he's taking all the bonus effects that the unit has. So This is not only stab bonuses, so if it has like, let's say 6 to all stats, he's gonna take that. But on top of that, he's taking the actual bonus buffs that a unit has. So if it has like ground orders, he's taking ground orders. If a unit has extra movement, he's taking extra movement. If a legendary Clod or Summer Clod exists and a Fate change them, he takes Fallen Star. And that is kind of good. So there's definitely going to be situations where there's just so much synergy in what you can do here. This is why I'm most interested in this version of Chrom, because you can just do some massively cool things with a Fate change. Like, I'm excited to actually put this to use. So like I said, if I'm sparking or taking a freebie, it's most likely Chrom, because there's just so much cool interactions you can do here. And in the future, as more units come out with refines or whatever, just sort of buffs, like just think of like young Mia, who has like, believe like dodge and no follow-up as a buff, or even his own speed tech buffing infantry allies. He's just gonna like leech off of these buffs off of Fate change, and then all apply to him. And he's a Cav, so normally Cavs are fairly limited and can't benefit from all this some stuff. Maybe he doesn't benefit from null follow-up, so he's just gonna take a null follow-up buff. He wants that +1 movement from, I don't know, Brave Seliph, who also has +1 movement and null follow-up. Sure, give me that. He's gonna Fate change and take those buffs, and now he just becomes like a monster. So this is really good in everywhere. Like, this is really good everywhere. This is good in Summoner Duels, this is good in air offense, this is good in air defense. And I haven't even got to the weapon yet, and why this is also super synergistic and super good. There's just a lot of interesting things that I can't even begin to kind of talk about here. But I think I will definitely show off some footage or talk about the most synergistic effects or places to use them, such as like AR defense or AR offense. I'm gonna try to get some clips, hopefully within the coming week. Maybe I pick them up or spark them and whatever, and put them to use, because this is exciting. So I think it's worth a lot of discussion and showcasing all that. Anyways, when it comes to the weapon, despite it being, I think, a reference to Lancina, it doesn't really have any supportive effects at all. In fact, most of his kit, if anything, all of his kit except that speed tactic is selfish, except I guess you could say the speed tactic is supposed to buff others, but realistically he's running that just so he can steal it with Fate Change. It's not really steal, it's more like leech off of it, he also gets it. But anyways, the weapon is slaying, that's great. It's got effective against armor, which I think is actually preferable anyways. I think we want this. And then he has what is probably a very egregious section here, which is if he initiates combat or is within 2 spaces, he gets attack speed res plus X. Okay, and the X part is based on how many bonuses and penalty effects he has on him. So what that literally means, and ×2 by the way, so whatever, if he gets, let's say he gets a ground orders effect, which doesn't really matter to him, but he just has a ground orders buff because you just had a flyer nearby who gave him ground orders to start. He officially, because of that ground orders buff, now has +2 to all stats, just off of that ground orders buff. Now if you have somebody else on the team, like Medius, who gives on guard, that's another 2 to all stats. Now if you have Bridocatria, that's another 2 to all stats. So we've already had 6. Now, if you're up against a player who happens to be running, I don't know, let's say a Loki, and Loki does like guard and stall, or I think in this case it's stall, that's going to give you 2 to all stats again. Panic, 2 to all stats again. So he's already at like potentially 10 to all stats, and then on top of that he gets +5. So 15 to all stats. Just off of a very simple scenario. Just somebody running sudden panic or panic ploy or false start even, which is probably more realistic. Something like false start. Yeah, it can get out of hand pretty quickly. Now, the thing is, I like that he is good whether he uses Fate Change or not. Meaning, if he doesn't use Fate Change, then all those debuffs he has on him, all those like negative effects, like let's say a false start, a panic ploy, maybe a stall or something, all these effects on him are actually buffing him. They're actually making him stronger. Now, if he uses Fate Changed and you have a team that is supposed to synergize with him, and let's say it's like Summer Clod or Legendary Clod who just went in to attack first and applied Fallen Star to him, well, Fate Change will now remove all those penalties, which technically makes him weaker, but then he takes the Fallen Star and all these other type effects maybe, and just gets buffed again. So he's strong even when he's penalized, and then he's strong even when he has bonus effects, which is crazy. Mind you, stat boosts like 6 tall stats, the home type effects, tactics effects, they don't actually buff him. Like they don't give him additional +2. It's just those like visible buffs at the beginning of turn. Long term, I think as more units are released, refines are added, and there's just more synergy, Chrom is going to age really well. Not to mention, of course, the CYL refines. So in like 2 years, this is going to get like buffed even further. It doesn't end. And I'm not even done. Fate changed the isolation effect, which is usually a negative type effect. It also gives him 2 dual stats because it's technically a penalty. So not only does he like soak leech type bonuses off your allies, you're just giving massive stats off of this one weapon, which is extremely synergistic with his own kit, but also because it's extremely synergistic with just putting together a team that can benefit from all this. He just becomes a ball of massive stats, getting probably up to like +20 stats, maybe, off of the weapon. That's ridiculously good. That is something I'm excited to see in action, and also fearing, because I'm sure I'll see that, and dealing with it on an AI perspective is going to be difficult. Now, I didn't even mention the last part of this weapon, because if that wasn't enough to convince you that Chrom's pretty good, he's got 40% DR on the first attack. Just because he does. Because he does. That's it. On top of that, as long as he has a bonus, which should be pretty easy to accomplish, he just has a special cooldown charge +1 per attack, which is effectively, I would say, something like OG Eliwood with Blazing Durandal. So you could have him run something like Ignis, perhaps, and blow stuff up. Or you could have him run Gale Force and just kill things. Now, I could already imagine some ridiculous stuff here. So if somebody's not running, like, let's say, Near Save, and you have like Legendary Claude or Summer Claude goes in and applies Fallen Star, but Legendary Claude or Summer Claude also had +1 movement from like Legendary Azura, and then Claude ends up fate changing that guy, takes the movement, gets the Fallen Star, and then he has like Gale Force, let's say, and then instead of running Trace, because Trace probably isn't that good, you give him like Pass, you have a unit who potentially can run like 7 spaces across the map with Gale Force and Pass and can reach anything. Okay, that's like legendary Sigurd level of nonsense. Whew. I think I'm done with Chrom for now. This was probably at least 5 or 10 minutes of me talking about Brave Chrom. He's pretty good, guys. I cannot imagine a unit like this is not good. It's probably the best of this batch. Alright, so yeah, that's my impressions on the CYL units. This is probably one of the more bigger impressions videos, rightfully so, because it's a CYL batch. And I think we also have confirmation that Gerald is happening. It's not in this particular video, I think it was in the Fed channel. But yeah, we have 4 sparks. I don't think most people should use all 4 sparks. You likely just want to pick up whoever you're planning to merge up or use in the future. So for me, this is a given. It's probably Chrom. I do think all of them are unique and pretty good, though, for reasons I discussed in the video. So you can always rewatch it. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. And I'll be excited to read them going forward. That's it for me, guys. That's my take here. I'm going to try to upload some more footage, some more gameplay footage and like YouTube shorts at the very least, for that sort of thing, and future analysis, reactions, the same old. Thank you for watching. If you want to see me do this live, if you want to support what I do, check out the Patreon in the description below. If nothing else, a thumbs up always helps. It's the least I can ask for. Thank you for being here as always. See you in the next one. Peace.